I'm Joshua, and I'm an INTP, and I would first and foremost like to say that thank you for visiting this video, and I hope you find it at least insightful. And the topic of this video will be the rarity of good. And the rarity of good, particularly in the dissemination of ideas, and the rarity of good in the production of media, or the work and service of goods in general, as in consumer products. So I suppose the continuation of thoughts that even led me to this topic, was just, why is it that one does not find good things everywhere? It seems, particularly in Western culture, that we have all of the technology and information available to us to actually create good things. And I suppose, to me, what constitutes a good thing is its seminality, how seminal it can be for another person in being able to sort of create, either if you're talking about a service or a good, some sort of equilibration for that individual, bringing them to some sort of more harmonic and consistent state. And if we're talking about media or the dissemination of ideas, it would be that people base their works upon your work or upon that work. It's something that I think that can be measured in citation, even with music. Not necessarily popularity, but popularity would be an indicator to some extent. It's just, why isn't good, given the history of humanity insofar as that we've been around for thousands of years and have been developing and reconstructing and recapitulating and recasting essentially the same ideas over and over again, and developing new ones in the wake and in the steady. But we've had things such as media and epistemological structures and goods and services for quite a long time, at least for, well, not quite a long time in respects to the history of the earth, but quite a long time in respects to the history of culture and humanity, and so far as that we've at least had the modern run at things for about 400 to 200 years. So given 400 and 200 years, why is there not a greater frequency of good? And that question led to sort of the tangential thought about just, well, what does, if I'm saying good is seminality, and seminality doesn't seem to be as present in culture, it doesn't seem to be as present in domains of knowledge, nor in expression of art and media per se, then just what the heck makes something, what gives somebody or some agency the power and ability to create these things? And that's a very difficult question, surprisingly. When I was looking at the philosopher Baruch Spinoza, who was at the heart of radical Enlightenment ideas at the time of the Enlightenment, it seemed, because he was living in the Dutch Republic, that it being a dominating central communicative place, as in the centrality of ideas in the different texts and manuscripts. He had a flood of ideas and thoughts, and just because it was a republic, a much more tolerating environment to where he could synthesize more ideas and get his hands on more ideas than most other thinkers could at that time and period in Europe. And he also lived in a republic which was very permissive to Judaism, Christianity, and a whole lot of other cultish and superstitious constructions. I'm not saying that about Christianity. I'm saying that or Judaism. I'm saying that the republic itself, though it legally or theoretically wasn't tolerant to those things, in practice it was very tolerant to those things because so many different sects and so many different radical ideas existed at the time in the republic that Spinoza lived in. And so it seems that that gave Spinoza the ability to sort of have the most universal and equanimous view of nature in his casting of human nature and the human condition. And thus we have the works of the ethics. And yeah, it's just, it seems, and whether I looked at Spinoza or whether I look at Google, or I don't know, it seems that me saying I don't know means that the chain of thought of people go on forever. It's like the ... in mathematics. That's what my I don't knows mean. It means that the chain seems to go on forever. So sometimes when I say I don't know, I mean I don't know. But other times when I say I don't know, it means that the chain of figures goes on forever. And in this case, I'm saying that the chain of figures seem to go on at infinitum. That good, or what produces good, is sometimes a rarefied thing because the resources and the community of necessity isn't existent at that time. What it also seems like is that good is something that's difficult to create per se for individuals or an agency because of the problem of proficiency or the problem of expertise. And the problem of proficiency and expertise is something that will always be staring us in the face given whatever time period we're looking at, because it seems just that for anybody to create anything that's good, as in it's novel and useful, because it seems that even though that's the definition for creativity by a lot of people, it seems that that is the marker of something that is good. It's something that stimulates the imagination, but it's something that is familiar to the person enough extent for them to be able to assimilate it to the other cultural models and constructions that exist in their mind, but at the same time have some sort of use and utility to their thought life, whatever it is they're trying to achieve, their goals, whatever. It seems that all things that we would say that this is a good thing or that is a good thing has some sort of interplay with those three variables. And it seems that people can't actually make good things, or good things can't arise unless somebody has a tremendous amount of understanding within a domain of knowledge, or within more than one domain of knowledge, insofar as bringing two types of knowledge and thinking together, or per se two perspectives together, and having this cross-pollination that produces good things. But it seems that because it takes a tremendous amount of effort to be an expert at something, and it takes a great deal of setback, failure, trouble, and a sort of delayed gratification in many respects, that it's something that is quite hard for most people to achieve, or an agency to approximate themselves to, because the problem of expertise is one primarily of motivation, and how it is that you the problem of expertise, or just the problem of excellence in general, is one of motivation, because how do you, one, get the person to acquire the skill? Because I think in recent, and just in modern light, you can develop the structures one would need to do the deliberate practice, and you can, with the advent of the internet, you can get your hands on a great deal of information. But it seems that getting people to be motivated to do these things, or even having a collection or an organization and keeping it motivated and humming, the engine running consistently enough to sort of produce the results and consistently produce the results, is the problem of the human condition. And that would be also, to me, why it doesn't seem like good things emerge. And then it seems that when we're at least talking about good in the modern context, it's that things have been revolutionized to such an extent thus far, given human history, that culture has moved and technology has evolved and advanced at a rather alarming cliff. It's incredible how much things have changed just within the last 200 years of Western culture and even Eastern culture. The drastic changes that have swept across from Asia to the Americas in terms of how people live and how they're existing. Yes, there are still some pockets here and there that haven't really changed all that much, but for the most part, the modern world and how it's shaped and what it looks like is completely, in some ways, a completely different transformation of what preceded it 200 years ago, and it's continuing to change really, really fast. And given these transformation and given these changes and given the surplus of people per se to stand in the wake of great seminal figures and following their trail, there just seems to be sort of a watermark or ceiling effect going on here, to whereas you take a domain of knowledge like physics, and say you want to be a good physicist, insofar as you want to make good things. So it's good things, and the only reason I conceive this is because I'm a physics major. So I had to ask myself this. Quandary at one point in time. And so, say you want to make a good thing. Well, it seems that good things, they are novel and they're useful. So, novelty. You can address the problem of novelty to some extent with expertise, but you cannot completely address the problem of novelty with expertise, because nobody has the total story at one given time, and it's not contained in one person typically, because the amount of knowledge that exists within a exists within a domain and a field of knowledge now in comparison to 200 years ago is, unless the field is nascent and it's just now emerging, or it's just emergent within the last 50 years, there is a glut and a vat of knowledge within any domain, within any domain and within any field. So the chances of one person existing who has assimilated all of that knowledge and assimilated in a manner which is coherent and they can actually do something with is rather rare. Then, so that's expertise can help, but it doesn't completely solve the issue. And then the other thing is just competition, point blank. It's when we're looking at individuals and their sort of performance within fields, whether it's physics, mathematics, the NBA, or writing. The writers now are just really damn good. They're highly trained and possess, even though it doesn't seem as such in some respects if you read what exists on a blog, but it's like even what you can find trash on a blog on the internet, but you can find just amazing thoughts and ideas existing on a blog out in the middle of the internet. You know, it's like they didn't even go to Harvard, but they're writing at a very prolific level. And it seems that when I even conceive and think about the problem in physics, it's just that the floor and the ceiling is so tight and it's so packed with talent, that for any one person to, one, be able to assimilate all the ideas, and then two, be so differentiated in so far as they're just so much better in respects than everybody else, is rare. So it seems like good even in the modern sense, because there is so much abundance in modernity, that it's made it even rarer in some respects, when you would think it would actually make it much more frequent given the abundance of resources and knowledge that we possess, but it is not so. Seems to be a very serious bottleneck effect going on, and that's troubling in some respects, because I like good and I'm running out of, it's like, I don't know if one can run out of things to sort of digest and consume, but media, the lack of good media, the lack of good ideas or new ideas per se, the lack of good because I think new is inherently embedded in good to some respect. There needs to be some life-giving aspect and agency to something for it to be good, and that requires in some respects novelty being within its character and its conception. But it's just to say that, where are the good things at? They're hard. It's hard to find, and it's quite difficult to be good at something. I suppose this is one of the very few videos. Oh no, I'm not gonna say one of the few, because I don't ever try to predict my behavior. I have no idea how I'm going to act necessarily in the future. But it's to say this, that it's hard for one to be good at something, but I think one should really strive to be good at something. The idea of mastery as a plan for life, or just as the purpose to life in some respects, just becoming very, very good at something, it should be at least an aspect of one's, I would say, mode of existence. And because we need good things, there has just been a depreciation, and there's just been a depreciation of good. And this is something I also thought about too while viewing this concatenation of thoughts, that sorry, this is also something I thought looking at the chain of ideas, that concatenation. But the infrequency of good and the need for it would, I suppose, okay, never mind. I won't talk about this in this video, because it should be something. It's a completely different idea, and so to avoid complication in making this a very coherent picture, I will end the video here, and hopefully you found this interesting and insightful, and thank you for watching.